Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life podcast. This is Austin Linney here. We have the honor, the privilege of having Mr. Bailey Kramer in the house. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, Austin. Doing well. Thanks again for having me on the show.
You got it, man. Guys, this young man, he's super impressive young man, still in college, making it happen. I'll let you share your story and kind of start where you want, and you can go from there.
Yeah, so like many people, I got introduced to the idea of real estate investing two common ways. So the first one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Bigger Pockets. Those are kind of like the gateway entry to a lot of people's real estate journey. And that's how mine went down as well. So back last December, so almost a year ago from today, I discovered the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And like you mentioned, I am still a college student. So 12 months ago, I was in my apartment just trying to think about what I wanted to do with my life after college, during college. And I knew I always had an entrepreneurial desire to kind of take over, be control of my life. And just like your podcast, Construct Your Life, that was seriously, I've always had that mindset ever since I was a kid. And after I read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I got introduced to the concept of real estate investing through that book, just because he slightly mentions it, that gave me the momentum to then do a little bit more digging. And that's where Bigger Pockets came about. And it was just months and months and months of learning, of podcasts, of talking to people, networking. And every single day with real estate, you can learn something new. There's so many different strategies, so many different unit types, markets, you name it. You could be researching for days and for years, really. So it came a time where I said, okay, I need to hunker down here and surround myself with a group of people. I need to find someone who can mentor me and give me a little bit of structure, because there's so many shiny objects right now. So I kind of need to focus a little bit. And that's when I joined a mentorship group, a mastermind program, which just gave me a sense of community, mentorship and that kind of thing. And that's kind of where I'm at today, is surrounding myself with the right people and still on the hunt for that first deal, and have some exciting things in the works, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And I'm not calling you out. I just want to make the points necessary so people understand that it's possible for everybody. How old are you?
20 years old.
Okay. So I guess we'll start with a couple things and then we'll just kind of separate it out. So on what planet, and I'm not talking shit, I'm just really joking. On what planet did you think that you could start a podcast, right? Like, in what I love about it is, like, think about it, you started now and where you're going to be at 30 instead of starting it at 38 like I did, right? And so
right.
Like what pushed you over the edge? What got you to do it?
Yeah, I mean, well, I just want to say at first too, I had those limiting beliefs. I thought, yeah, maybe in a few years I could start a podcast. I think that's when it'd be right for me. But what actually started it for me was I first started a meetup group, which is by no means a prerequisite to a podcast. It's just what I happen to do. And what gave me the confidence to do that was simply by networking with people. There was a guy named Cody Laughlin out of Texas as well.
Mm-hmm.
And and this was early stages in March, when I was kind of just, playing with the idea of real estate. I didn't even really know fully what that even meant, but talked to Cody a few times, talked to other people a few times, and he hosted a meetup and he said, why don't you host a meetup? And I was like, me? You're talking to me? You're talking to me now? And kind of explained, you don't need to be an expert to start a meetup. You don't need to be an expert to start a podcast. And it was through that first crushing of the limiting belief with the meetup, which then kind of opened my eyes to I don't need to be an expert to just start something. I can leverage other people, bring on other experts on my podcast, and I can be the one asking them the questions. So it definitely, there was tons of limiting beliefs in my head before I even talked to Cody and other people. I thought maybe a few years down the line, that was my realistic start. But just from those conversations, and it really starts with surrounding yourself with those types of people. That's kind of how it changed for me.
And since you started the podcast, what has it done for your network? What has it done for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, the networking piece is so big because every business is a relationship business, but real estate is really a relationship business. So the people that I've met through the podcast is unbelievable, and it's the difference between a cold introduction, because if you reach out to anybody in the real estate world, chances are you'll get a reply if you have a nice phrasing of it. But when you're able to build your network and something through a podcast, let's say, I'm then able to say, Austin, I'm looking for a broker in Orlando, or whatever it might be that I need, and vice versa, whatever you might need, that we can kind of bounce ideas off of each other. So that networking piece is just so critical. And the podcast has definitely 10x my ability to network and has built my network massively.
And inadvertently, only because I've read Expert Secrets like 3 times, you've positioned yourself as an expert, as a go-to guy, right? And so it's kind of like it's a triple whammy, really.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
And a lot of people, especially at your age, would start in the single family realm, or they would wholesale, or they would flip. But you've made a conscious decision, which is not the short-term play. It's the long-term play. But ultimately, when you do close on your first deal, you'll be, 10 years ahead of everybody else. So what was the decision to forego the single families and focus on larger scale multifamily?
Yeah. So when I was first, again, learning about all the different shiny objects that there are in real estate, I think like most people, you start learning about the single families. And I just want to say too, there's nothing wrong with any of the asset classes. There's no right starting place. There's no wrong starting place. It's all kind of just personal preference, and that's pretty much it, whatever it's best for you. But what happened with me is I started just listening to the podcast, hearing all these single family, these flippers, investors, wholesalers, all that kind of thing. And I didn't even know about multifamily at the time. I didn't even know humans could buy apartment complexes. As crazy as it sounds now, I didn't know that was the thing that people did. So I learned about single family. I got pretty comfortable with the idea of investing in single families. And then I learned about multifamilies, and I understand the basis of multifamilies. And then there came a time where I said, okay, I need to kind of do something here. So I realized that for single families, while most of the times they're less money, they require less of a team per se, at least for the first one. Whereas a 100-unit apartment complex, a lot more moving parts. I said to myself, I don't have the capital right now for a single family, which actually propelled me to go to multifamily, which is kind of like, it's almost backwards thinking for a lot of people.
It's actually genius, and you just blew my mind that this is actually a good avenue on accident.
Yeah, exactly. So I learned about the 3.5% strategy, and I said, okay, if I really wanted to scrape together.
So what is that for everybody? Because I've never heard that. So
right, yeah. So there's special different types of loans. So there's one called an FHA loan. Honestly, not exactly sure on what it exactly means, but it's a certain type of loan where instead of putting a conventional 20 to 25% down, you can put 3.5 to 5% down. And there's obviously a lot of pros and cons to it, but let's just say you find $100,000 unit property. Instead of putting down $20,000 at 20% down, you could put $3,500 down at 3.5% in simple math terms. So could I have hustled, drove Uber, wholesaled, I could scrape together $3,500 somehow, some way. So it wasn't so much that it was impossible to get the money, but it was, I have to do a lot of work to get the money. And is single family really what I want to scramble for and kind of hustle for to get the single family, single unit property kind of thing? So, and then that was at the time too, when I was learning heavily about multifamily. And I like the scalability of multifamily. I liked how I didn't have to have the money for it. I could come with a different piece of it. And so I kind of threw the money thing out the door, which was the biggest thing for me, like was the biggest limiting belief. And I think it gets a lot of people in their bubble of, I only have this amount of money, I need to start small. But that's what kind of propelled me to go and think a little bit bigger.
Well, what's interesting, right, is I have this theory, and you're going to love it, is that I meet these 24-year-olds, David Tupin, Adrian Salazar, my buddy who's got 180 units at 24 years old, all these things. And I almost think, and this is what I told my coaching client yesterday who's getting brand new into real estate, I said, how far you got to fall? To your parents' couch? Like, if something goes wrong, I almost think the lack of knowledge and the lack of money actually propels y'all farther along in your careers because you have no option but to be a syndicator.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think when people you hear a lot of successful stories about like the people you just named, but also tons of entrepreneurs, when their backs are against the wall, that's when they excel the most. And it's not because they settle for, they don't settle. They kind of just use that to propel them even farther.
Sure. And what I want to do here for a couple minutes, any young investors that's listening to my podcast and the amount of work that you've done in the groups that you've been in and the people that you've interviewed, just kind of lay out for the next 4 to 5 minutes, kind of your thought process on, what type of property you're looking for, the things that you're looking for, and then how to like partner up with people on a bigger deal.
Are you talking about just in general?
Just like if you were to get like if when you're out looking for properties, right? Like what are you looking for, and then kind of like the process.
Yeah. So there's, again, with the different asset classes, there's a million ways that you can go about this. So I'll tell you kind of what I started to do and what I'm kind of transitioning into now. So originally my focus was set in Orlando, Florida, because that's where I go to school. And I was talking to brokers, I was talking to property management companies, and just reaching out saying, hey, I'm an investor. And like I said before, I'm in a mastermind. So I leveraged my mentor and the other people in my mastermind to give me a little bit more credibility with, coming in with no units and no balance sheet to show and prove to the broker. So I gave my criteria. So for me, I was asking anywhere between 10 and 30 units in the Orlando area, multifamily properties. Of course, everyone wants a value add play. So some way to raise the rents, decrease the expenses, maybe put in a little capital. And what I found was a few things. Talking to these brokers that's not the challenging part. It's one, the market that I was in and trying to go directly to the brokers was a little challenging. The prices were ridiculously high. The cap rates were super compressed, and not that you can't find a deal there that way. There's plenty of people who find deals through brokers. But what I found was maybe I need to go a little direct to seller strategy. So I've been working with a few people in the mastermind to go direct to seller. So we've been doing cold calling and cold texting. And we found that to be bringing in some leads a little bit faster and more. And when you're going direct to seller, yes, there could be other people, other competition, but normally when you find them, there's less people than if a broker listed on LoopNet or their website. So that's kind of the focus right now is that those are the off-market strategies.
I love that. And, I guess one of the things that I'm formulating in my mind, because a couple of my coaching clients are multifamily guys, and it's something that I talk to all you multifamily guys, and I I don't worry, but I'd love to kind of dig into how you stay hungry when the process of getting a deal might be 6 months to 2 years, right? Like, how do you stay charged up for it? How do you stay involved when you're not getting those big wins? Like, how do you protect against that?
Yeah, and I would say up until this point in my career, my journey, I haven't had a one massive breakthrough or big win. There's been a ton of small wins and things I get super excited about and keep moving forward. So I guess to answer that, I haven't had that huge one breakthrough, life-changing deal just yet. But I think that's what's keeping me hungry right now is chasing that deal, that first breakthrough. And I think the most important piece is the people that you're surrounding yourself with. If I was doing it by myself, yeah, you're probably right. I'd probably get burned out a lot faster. And it's kind of like when the classic, like, working out. If you work out with other people watching you, you kind of you work a little bit harder. At least me and the people that I've experienced, you work a little bit harder. You're in it a little bit more. But when you're by yourself, no one's watching. You could tend to slack off and no accountability. So I would say the accountability and just the people you surround yourself is the biggest factor that's keeping me going.
I agree, and I think one of the reasons why I love multifamily investors, and look, we're not talking about you single families, you're still my friends, but I love the unity and family environment and helping others, right? And obviously, I mean, the Jake and Gino group are hands in them, they're amazing people, and just everybody you fall in love with are here to help. And you've probably heard Bruce Peterson speak. I have lunch with him, like we hang out, and he's so on board with just like, go for the 80 unit, go for the 100 unit, because, and I know it sounds crazy, guys, for me to just say that, because it's like, holy crap, but you have professional management. These people have been doing it forever. So really, what is your role? Your role is to raise the money and oversee them doing their job correctly. You as a 20-year-old can do that, right? I mean, right. I'm sure that's popped in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to the point where I was saying, all right, I don't have the capital of my own. I then overcame the belief that, wait, I could raise capital. So that's one piece that I could bring. Another big piece that I could bring is finding the deal. And I think that's a piece that is overlooked, but I think anyone of any age could do that, is find the right deal, whether that's literally driving, looking for a distressed property, whether that is pulling some type of list and contacting the owners directly, whether it's just posting on Facebook that you're a multifamily investor and one of your connections, you never know what's out there. So I think finding the deal, raising capital are two pieces that, I mean, I don't think any of the roles have any type of age cap or limit or minimum, but the clearest ones for me to see is finding the deal and raising the money. I think everyone has the ability to do so.
And it's something I tell every young investor anytime I speak, right? Guys, especially if you're young, the people that have multiple apartment complexes do not have time to look for deals. And they do not have time to raise money some of the times. So what I tell them is, don't you dare tell me what your value proposition is, because you haven't even addressed it with the people you're trying to do business with. And if you can remove friction from their life, then you can add value. And you could forego the finder's fee to be involved in the deal. There's so many ways around that. And ultimately, like, I want to dig into a little bit of your story and what I love mindset-wise. Dude, you're 20 years old. You're in college. You're looking for multifamily assets, right? What the hell? Like, I was trying to get dressed when I was 20. Like, where does this come from? Is your family entrepreneurs, or like, is it just something that sparked inside of you? Where does this come from?
Yeah. So the first thing is my parents are not entrepreneurs. And so taking it back, I've loved Shark Tank, like ever since I was a kid. Like, that was
religious.
Seriously.
I watched like 7 episodes on Sunday. I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great show. So stuff like that, when I was super young, like not even double digit age, 8 years old, that's stuff that got me excited just as a baseline.
Mhm.
And something that I've done, I think, throughout my life is I've taken things from my surroundings and I pretty much absorbed everything. I consume what I like, and whatever I don't like, I try to do the opposite and learn from it.
Okay, stop. Holy crap. Right? Okay, and I want to stop here for a minute and let you continue in a second. Guys, you can understand the aspects of other businesses or other points of view and not have it attached to you. You can get it. Okay, great. I'll take what I want and move on. This is my entire life. This is what I live my life on. Okay, that guy's a really great father. I'm going to look at some aspects of that, and then I take a little bit for myself, make it my own, and then move on. Like, where did that come from with you?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint a certain spot, but I would say if I had to name one huge example of something that I've taken so much from, but also taken and make sure I change it a little bit, is my parents both super hardworking, um, would do anything for their family. So love that aspect. The only thing that I would change, the only thing is the timepiece and kind of taking control. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, my parents are in a role where it's that dated.
Watch this. Watch this. We've never spoke about this. I
Yeah.
have no idea what you're about to say, but watch me work, guys. I guarantee you that one of your goals on your whiteboard and your big dreams is to retire your parents.
Yeah.
Boom. The way you were talking, and I just knew it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
that's
for sure.
that's probably one of your big whys, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely one of the biggest things that I want to, taking care of them, because they've sacrificed so much, they work so hard, but the only thing that I'm taking from them and then want to change a little bit is I want to do the exact same thing, except take control of my time, and instead of being an employee for 30 plus years, I want to own the company and build it that way. So that's probably the biggest piece where I said, I think that's where the entrepreneurial bug started, where, I was looking at it was part Shark Tank, part always kind of liking to build things, but then realizing I don't want to be stuck at a place from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I don't want to have a retirement age. I want to just do me. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've taken away and been able to just change a little bit to help project the vision.
Well, I would imagine, because you are so young and you don't have that much debt, like there's a real conversation. Now, granted, a lot of things need to happen in the right way. There's a real conversation that if you get a large enough property and you syndicate it, you could be financially free with one deal. Am I correct?
Right.
Like, guys, I'll say it again. At 21, he could finance a 150 unit and be financially free.
Right.
Wrap your heads around that bad boy right there. Yeah.
Then that's kind of the power of, I guess, just the sheer power of multifamily, where it's one deal, but a lot of units could make such a big impact. And that's obviously one of the big reasons why multifamily is so attractive.
Mm-hmm. And then I would imagine that you have a daily routine, right? That you try to stick by, because you are going to school and then you have the podcast in real estate. So kind of walk us through, how you structure your day and where you learn that from and stuff like that.
Yeah. So super classic answer, but the miracle morning is something that I was introduced to back in March by a guy named Kyle Marcotte. He was my first mentor. I think he's 22 or 23 now. He's just a few years older than me. So when I met someone like that, I latched on, because I was like, dude, you are where I am, where I want to be in like the next few years. And he said to me, I was just where you were a year ago. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
But going through, talking with him, he asked me about my routine, and I said, I'm a morning person. I used to wake up a lot, work out in the morning, but it wasn't really a routine. I kind of just I like waking up early. I'm an early bird, but no routine. So then he told me about the Miracle Morning. Read that, loved it. So I started waking up. When I was talking to him, I was waking up at 7:00. Read the book. I'm like, let me try 6:00. So now I'm down to 5:30, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with the Miracle Morning, but for those who aren't, it's the whole premise behind it. And the simplest way to explain it is take an hour for yourself before all the craziness happens during the day. So preferably in the morning, and take an hour and focus on yourself, and focusing on yourself in, I think there's 6 different categories, and it's an acronym called SAVERS. So silence, which is meditation; affirmations, which is just ingraining those positive thoughts, or I like to say hyping myself up a little bit. Those are the affirmations. There's visualization, which is just kind of literally imagining yourself in a situation, imagine yourself accomplishing a goal, whatever you really want to do. There is exercise, which is super important, taking care of your body. There is reading, and there is scribing or journaling. So those are the activities in the Savers routine. And that makes up my morning routine, hour a day.
And what's so important, and I talk about it in a different setting in recovery and stuff like that, but basically what he's describing, guys, is you're building identities around the default of your habits. And so it doesn't matter what's going on, or you're having a bad week, or you're having a bad day, or you're having, a deal didn't go through, or there's a deal that's like so huge and you're freaking out. That when you create these habits in your life, which after, they say that 21 days is a habit, 90 days is a lifestyle. And when you use these as your default mechanism, then you can kind of stay grounded in your day, no matter what happens, right? And wouldn't you believe that that's kind of like, if you're having a rough go of it, it kind of centers you?
Right. I mean, you're waking up and immediately you're having win after win after win after win. And they're not really immediate. They're not always immediate too. Like, I mean, exercising, you're just maintaining a healthy body. So like something like that, where you wake up and you feel pumped because you just did something awesome for yourself. And then obviously there's gonna be challenges, different things throughout the day, but I think starting out with those wins, creating your focus for the day, and then going and having that mindset to go crush it. That's where it's huge for me.
And let's just project out, right, over the next 3 to 5 years. Let's say you close a couple deals, you graduate school. Why wouldn't a lot of young kids would just be like, just quit school? But like, I would imagine that it's important for you to get the degree regardless, right? And so like, let's say you were to close like 3 or 4 deals as you continue, like when you're sitting alone with yourself, and you don't have to share everything, obviously, but what are you thinking big vision wise, for 30-year-old Bailey and 40-year-old Bailey, right? What do you think about?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's never really been about all about the money. Obviously that's something that's important that comes with it. But I was talking to someone yesterday. There's not really a time where I want to just, I have this money, now I'm done sitting on a beach. Like that's not, it's fun to sit on a beach I'm not really a beach guy, more like a poolside guy.
Yeah, a day. Yeah.
Yeah, a day. But realistically, and I like doing things. So for me, it's all just about having that security, or that base. It's kind of like that financial freedom where if you want, having the options, the flexibility, or if you need to go somewhere or if you want to go somewhere, you're good to do it. But for me, I think, 10 years down the line, I want to find a way to kind of discover more asset classes.
Yep.
That's something that, I mean, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are with me on this. The shiny object syndrome is super real. And
Very
that's something
real.
it's ridiculous for me. So right now, of course, staying focused, but there's so many different things I want to go explore that I'm not going to yet. But I think, I want to stay busy. I want to stay building, and that's fun to me. So that's kind of what I see myself doing.
I was listening to a podcast the other day on Bigger Pockets, and he was talking about like so many people are worried about the output, that they're not focused on the input. And it's like, if you focus on the daily activities and like, I guarantee you that you're going to get your wins. It's very hard. Right. But, I live by Andy Friselli's Power 5 list, like 5 things you can do every day to win the day. And I just think that like when you focus on these things, like what I try to tell everybody is you didn't have a bad day. You had a bad couple hours.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're so quick to like broad stroke it. And I'm like, no, like it was just like you had a shitty couple of hours, something didn't fall through. But maybe it was clearing the way for something better to come down the road. And you just have to have that abundant mindset. And when you have the abundant mindset, you really allow yourself to be happy, I guess, like happier. That's under, relative term.
Right. Right. And there's like the classic quote or little thing, probably gonna miss say it, but it's like someone steals $10 from you, but you have $2,000. So what are you gonna do? Just throw away the rest of the $2,000? Because it's the same thing with the time of the day. Yeah, you have a bad few hours, something doesn't go your way. Well, you still have more and more opportunity to create. So it's kind of this similar situation to what you're saying.
I love it, dude. Thank you so much, man. You're beyond impressive. I so much value in this episode. If people want to find your podcast or reach out to you, how do they do that?
Yeah, I would say the best way to reach out is on LinkedIn or Instagram. Just send me a message. Tell me you heard me on Austin's podcast, and 10 out of 10 times I'm going to be responding. Love to speak with your listeners, talk with them, see how I can help them, and yeah.
So next year, I'm taking my mastermind meetup on the road. So we're doing Louisville, California, Arizona, Texas. I'm doing one in Canada, but we're going to do one in Orlando. And you're going to speak, and I'm going to speak. It's going to be a great time. So we'll lock down a date, guys. Keep your eyes peeled for something like that. I just love that stuff.
Awesome.
So much fun.
Awesome. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a great time. Well, dude, I appreciate it so much. Guys, if you like this episode, make sure you send it to your friends, share it around. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.